Hi, you guys. Today we're going to speak about boundaries. And what comes with boundaries are, maybe let me start off like this. Maybe a lot of people do not know what boundaries are, or maybe you don't want to sit here and tell your partner what your boundaries are because you feel like maybe they might look at me like I'm their parent or I'm trying to control their life about what they can and cannot do and stuff like that. And it's not that, okay? It's not. Boundaries come in all different sorts of form. You can have boundaries, for an example, in terms of, hey, if we're in this together in the midst of an argument or, things aren't working right, I just have a boundary on this. You have to come to an understanding. I don't care how mad you get, but at this point, there's just going to be a way you speak to me. Because if you sit here and get me to that point, you want to come around me and do all this yelling and cussing and all of that. And then when you push me to my breaking point and I throw the same madness back at you, now we have another problem. Why would we have another problem if we already set boundaries on, you know what, I feel myself getting heated, I'm going to just remove myself real quick. That could be one sort of a boundary. Like, I'm not telling you what to do. I understand being in the heat in the moment of an argument or a disagreement, but you have to understand you cannot just sit here and speak to me any type of way because through my eyes, I feel like you don't respect me. That's why you feel like you can do certain things that you do, and that is never okay. If you're in a relationship and you really feel like your partner no longer respects you, I mean, that says a lot because respect is everything. Respect boils down to how you view me. If you guys have a future goal together, and if your partner doesn't respect you, it's kind of like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? But with that, if you're the type of person that's sitting here and you're just like, I'm not giving up on this, I'm going to make this work, that's where communication comes in, and that's like another red flag for me. If you're sitting here in a relationship with someone that does not know how to communicate, or they feel like every single time there's an argument at hand, and it's not necessarily an argument, it's a conversation where both people have different views on it. Sometimes it could even boil down to a situation where we can agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? Every time someone's trying to start a conversation, do not view that as an argument because that makes that person look like, oh, okay, like you do not know how to communicate properly. And then with communication comes possible triggers on both ends, you know? Like I said, if you're that deep and the conversation is just as heat as it could be, that's when people sit here. Sometimes they sit here and they tell you the truth. They say things, and then you think about it like, oh, wow, this was really how you was feeling this whole time. Or sometimes when people are mad, they'll sit here and push you to your point. Like, they'll say something that they know will break you. You know what I'm saying? That could potentially end the conversation. You sit here and feel some type of way. And honestly, it's like, that's not good, no matter how you put it. If you're in a relationship with someone that you cannot communicate with, that you cannot sit here and set boundaries with, it just makes you feel like, what is the point? And a lot of people seem to forget being in a relationship with someone, it's beautiful, but love is not everything. And I'm not saying boundaries come with age. A lot of people think that, but I don't. I think it comes with the proper mindset. You know what I'm saying? If you know your worth and if you know you, I don't care how old you are. If you come to the understanding, like, hey, I really love this person, I do, but I just see that we're at two different levels. Like, I don't think we're even reading the same book anymore because things are like just not making sense and things are just harder than what they should be. Honestly, in life, things are hard. Like, nothing's gonna come easy. And I hate it when people have the mindset or they sit here and think, like, oh, okay, we've been together for a good little minute and all that. I'm sorry to tell you this, but history does not mean anything. It doesn't. Because when you're growing, you're changing. That same person that you used to be, that is no longer you. When you grow, you become a different version of yourself. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people cannot accept a new version of you, and that's okay. It's fine. But within that, do not lower yourself trying to meet someone at where they are. No, don't do that. Because when you lower yourself, it's like you're losing you to give comfort to someone else. No, no. Like I always say, it does not matter who this person is, how long this has been going. If you are not a healed version of yourself, you're not going to be okay for anyone. Anyone, not even just a relationship. If you're out here and you're a parent, how are you going to be good to your children if your mindset is not where it should be? If you can't sit here and say, of course, I'm not fully together, none of us are, but at least I could sit here and say where I used to be when things like this used to come across, I would sit here and lose my mind. I no longer do that. That's growth. I don't care how little the growth is growth. And do not be surrounded around others that be like, wow, that little thing you change, you think you grow. That's really hate. It's hate. Anybody gonna tell you? I'm gonna tell you. That's hate. If you are not surrounded around individuals that praise any little growing aspect that you do in your life, it tells you a lot about the person. And you, in order to stay on this growth journey, you have to be surrounded around those that honestly are growing as well. How are you going to sit here and be surrounded around others or a person that's not trying to move forward, that's literally sitting here and they're actually content with the way they still think and the way when things unravel, let me sit here and lose my mind. Let me sit here and act crazy. It's going to change. It always worked before. You got to understand life is not life like it was before. Life is getting bad. I don't, I don't, I don't care. It's getting bad. And with that being said, you have to change the way you think and you move. You can't want to grow and get all of this stuff and still think and move the way you used to. Think about that. When you used to work on things back in the day, you saw how hard that was? So, wouldn't that be an eye opener? Let me not attack the situation like I used to. Let me do something different. Growing means still reaching for all that you want, but if you see that it's just not working, do something different. You cannot grow doing the same things. And even with all that being said, when it boils back down to a relationship, if communication is not there, honestly, it's like, what else do you do? None of us are really like a mind reader. Like, if you're not telling me what issues are, or if you're not receptive about my turn telling you what's bothering me, or what I'm looking forward to, it's kind of like, I don't know. And it's like, where do we go from here? Like I stated, with boundaries, it's not that you're sitting here trying to control someone. You're trying to protect this healed version of yourself that you found during your growth journey. And it's like, I love you, but now where I am, not to be mean, I'm not trying to throw no shade, but it's like, I love me more. And even with all that being said, I'm trying to be the best version of me while you're trying to grow and be the best version of you. So when we get together in this relationship, we should have no problems because we're okay setting boundaries. We're okay with, hey, remember when we used to do this? I see that's why we were not growing. I no longer want to do that with you. If this is something that I truly want, I'm going to put my all in it. I'm going to put every single part of me in it. And like I always talk about, whether it's a male or a female, it doesn't matter. We're all human beings and we all have feelings. If there are certain parts of your partner and you're just like, I don't know, something feels off. Like, why aren't you talking to me? And then when you break all of those walls down and you try to let your partner in, because maybe you were just hiding that vulnerable side of you because you're just like, hey, I've been hard this whole time. If I become, if I get in my soft era, is my partner gonna look at me any different? Could this seriously be a deal breaker for this relationship? Let me keep it to myself. And then it's like, if we're trying to grow together, you need to know every single part of me. So if you know every part of me, there should be no reason why my feelings get hurt or I feel like you're not treating me properly when I sat here and told you every single thing about myself. When you break that wall down and you're just like, hey, I've just been this hard because, like I talked about prior episodes, when it came down to my childhood, I did not get X, Y, and Z. That's why if we're doing this together and I'm looking at you like you're my safe haven, if I can sit here and tell you what I was lacking since we are growing together, I expect us to do this for each other. I shouldn't have to be this hard in a relationship with you. I should be as soft as possible. And for the fellas out there, you should look at your girl as like your best friend. Like that's your safe haven as well. Like you don't have to be that hard either. Like, why do I have to protect myself from you when we sat here and spoke about it all? If I'm telling you this is why certain relationships didn't work out, and I give you all instructions. I give you examples, I give you stories, and if you have all of that knowledge and if you still keep doing the things that you're doing, that makes me feel like you just don't respect me. You don't care about how I'm feeling. Because in your eyes, it's like, wow, that was horrible, but what do you want me to do? I mean, we sitting here and we're together. What else are you looking for? Like, what are you talking about? If I'm doing this with you, I'm trying to feel as safe as possible. Because if I have to venture back and go back to the hard version of me and become my own savior for situations, it's the kind of like, what's the point if I'm sitting here and I'm telling you absolutely everything and it's still not making sense? It will ultimately make you feel like, are you truly not getting this? Or is it just because it's me? You know what I'm saying? And then when you sit here and you start to have that mindset, it makes you feel like you did something wrong. Like, what part of my end did I not keep up with? And honestly, y'all gotta understand, if you're in a relationship, it takes two people to make or break something. You can't sit here and say it's just my fault. No, you could have played a part in it, but don't sit here and take the full blame for it. If you've been communicating, if you've been trying every single thing, if y'all had conversations and it boiled down to oh, okay, I see that this made you feel some type of way in the past. If you're who I want to be with and I really want to make this work, like I always say, no one is perfect. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying come to me perfect. That doesn't make sense. A perfect person does not exist. You can sit here and have a conversation on things and how things should change. And if that other person messes up or if you mess up, that's okay. But when someone messes up once, it is what it is. You sit there, you hash it out, call it a day, and you move forward. But if it turns into a pattern, and you're just like I don't get it, it makes you feel like, did you really forget about all of those conversations that we have? And honestly, when things like that happen, that could be a trigger point for you, and all of that hard work and all of the growth. It makes you want to venture back to protecting yourself. And when it comes down to protecting yourself, you know what I'm saying, like, you start the yelling and the cursing and all that because it's just like, yo, I sat here and I explained every single thing to you. Now, it could even boil down to I am this angry right now is because I feel like you trying to play me. I'm just sitting here trying to give you my all and it's like you're just not listening. Like you don't care. And then when you turn into the bad guy, it's like, oh, it's your fault. Because if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that, hello, we're in this together. It's not one person. You didn't do this and that. A lot of people fail to realize when someone decides to take charge in the relationship, right? And you set that tone for the relationship. If you come in off good energy and this and that is beautiful. Everything we talked about, everything is coming together. Like I just said, mistakes happen. It's cool. You forgot what we spoke about. It is what it is. Let's move on. But you can't come in here with a nasty attitude or just wanting to argue to argue. Like I am really at a point in my life I do not want to argue. Like I have so many other things that I'm focusing on right now and trying to sit here and argue back and forth. That's not doing anything for me. That is not going to better this. Either we sit here and figure out how we're going to move forward, come up with a solution to this, or I don't know, man. And then it's just like, I'll say women, because we really do this at times. If we talk about something and nothing changed, why does the man sit here and say, all you do is you just sit here and nag? How is it nagging? Clearly, if I keep bringing up the same situation, that means things have not been resolved. Like there's no clear resolution. There is no clear path. How am I supposed to keep going when I'm coming across the bumps in the road? If you were supposed to sit there and be there for me, I'm trying to figure this out. If we talked about point A yesterday, how in the heck did you get to point E without me? What did I miss? If we're on this journey together, we have to do every single aspect together if the end goal is to make this work. You know what I'm saying? And it's like at times it could get really hard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It could get so hard that it could even push you to the point like, is this even worth it? And when you come across that point, honestly, you're the only person that can answer that. I hear what family and friends and like what everyone is sitting here telling you, but you can listen to it, but ultimately the decision is yours. Why? Because you're the one in this relationship. You know the pros and the cons. You know the good and the bad times. You have to come to an understanding for yourself. Is this something I could deal with forever? Do I really feel like at some point in life we will be on the same page? You know what I'm saying? And when I say the same page, I mean without forcing, because I don't understand why people feel like I'm going to sit here and force it. Forcing nothing. It does nothing. What's not meant to be will never be. You know, it has to be two people really trying to sit here and make this work. You have to be with someone that can sit here and come across hard times and not just dip off and leave. Even though this is hard and even though you get on my nerves right now, when we're good, like we're good. And that's where I want to be with you 24/7. I'm not okay with the back and forth. If we sit here and have a conversation, and in my mind, what you're saying makes no sense, but I'm not going to sit here and make you feel like your feelings are irrelevant. No, because if you sit here and you downplay someone's feelings, I promise you, they will not tell you anything else going forward. It's a wrap for that. Because why would I sit here and tell you how I feel if every time I tell you how I feel, in your mind, I should not be feeling that way? Who are you to tell me how I'm feeling? Do you even take the step back to look at the things that you do? Don't even just sit here and look at the good times. Don't look at the positive times. That's why people, they really get a different sense of the relationship. If you're sitting here looking at the positive and good times, you're going to feel like you're an angel, like you do nothing wrong. Both of you guys have to sit there and talk about all the bad things that happen. You have to. You have to realize bad issues will come across. But the end goal is, how did you guys come together to fix it? How did you guys move forward? That's why, in the midst of an argument, don't sit here and tell me the good things. Let's talk about the bad things so we could get them straightened out. So, God forbid, like I said, mistakes happen. What if someone ventures back? That's going to be an eye opener. Like, hey, I'm not yelling at you. I'm not trying to start anything with you, but I'm starting to see that you're venturing back to the things that I thought we worked past. Did I make you feel some type of way? Like, how is your mental? How are you emotionally and physically? Like, is everything okay? How are we? Did something happen? Did I say or do something that made you feel some type of way? Because I'm just trying to understand. And that's why I always say communication is top tier, because there are no mind readers. You have to talk to be able to get somewhere in life, you know? So, like I said, y'all, set those boundaries. Make sure you're with someone that can understand, like, okay, this person could potentially be a talker. We can talk, but I don't want to talk all night. Or I don't want to sit here and talk about the situation like forever. If you don't want to sit here and talk about the situation forever, then that means we need to come to an understanding today. So we don't have to talk about this ever again. Because who really wants to sit here and argue every single day? No. If someone wants to argue, I feel like that means like they're tired, like they're just exhausted. Because I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. I didn't cuss at you, I didn't yell at you. I'm just sitting here trying to break down these walls for you. And if you're not recepting, if you're not accepting all that I'm saying to you and trying to get an insight of me, I don't know, maybe it is me. And that's just something you guys have to think about. Alrighty, you guys. I will talk to you guys next Sunday.